Hey everyone, welcome to part 16 of this Dark Urge Tactician mode guide for Baldur's Gate 3. We're now in the Moonrise Towers and we're going to do a lot in this area. We're going to spend the whole episode right around here, but we're going to do a lot of cool things, and I'll show you stuff that I did not show you in the previous playthrough. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to head to camp and we're going to put Astarion onto our team because we definitely want him for the next part coming up. I took Shadowheart off the team, and now with Astarion, let's head back into the Moonrise Towers. Starting from the entrance, we'll start running toward the southeast, but before you go up the big staircase, turn and go left. You can go down and through this doorway, and that will take you into a back room with a drow lady who is a potion merchant, so let's talk to her.
Araj Oblordra, trader in blood and the sanguineous arts. It is a pleasure to stand before a true soul, and your pale companion. I'd like to offer my services, if you're willing.
Why are you interested in my pale friend?
Please. You think someone in my line of work wouldn't recognize a vampire spawn when they see one? I trade in blood, and the potions that can be wrung from it. I'm more than happy to make you one, if you'd honor me with your blood. With one drop, I can brew a rather potent potion for you. The rest, I keep for myself.
Depending on your character's race, you'll get a different potion. We'll say, sounds interesting, let's do it.
Just a little prick and it's all over. Close your eyes. There we are. All of your very best traits in a bottle. Use it well. Although perhaps there's one more thing we could discuss. Your vampiric friend.
Oh, don't worry. We're all friends under the Absolute. I won't bite.
Oh, I'd prefer if you did. I assume he belongs to you?
Yes, all mine.
Well, I hope you don't mind sharing him for just a minute. Do you have a name, Spawn?
Astarion, but hold on.
Good. Now, Astarion. I've dreamt of being bitten by a vampire since I was a young girl.
I'm sorry. You want to be bitten?
To feel your life's blood slipping away. To dance on the edge between life and death. Yes, I want it. I'll even compensate you. A potion of legendary power that forever increases the strength of the one who consumes it. It's not for sale, but it's yours if you bite me.
I will have to decline.
Excuse me? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and you're squandering it.
I gave you my answer.
Can't you talk some sense into your obstinate charge?
Just bite her, the potion sounds useful.
I'm sorry, but could you excuse us a moment? Are you actually asking me to do this? Trading me for some potion? Because there's something wrong with her blood. I can smell it from here. It's rank.
Be forewarned that making him bite her will break a romance with Astarion, but that doesn't matter to us, and I'd much rather have that potion that gives us a permanent +2 to strength. So I'm going to say, don't be dramatic, it's just a bite, one nip and you're done.
Easy for you to say. You won't have to taste whatever sludge is in those veins.
I don't have all day, true soul.
Fine. I'll do it. Darling, I've had a sudden change of heart. After all, who could resist such a delectable neck? Hold very, very still.
Incredible. Incredible.
Oh, hells.
Not to your taste.
You're fetid, full of corruption.
I feel exquisite, though. So here's my part of the bargain. I hope you find it as satisfying as I found this. It was everything I imagined, and then more. I'll be able to put this to good use.
When we gave her our blood, we get the Elixir of Elven Elegance because we're a drow elf, and then we also get the Potion of Everlasting Vigor by having Astarion bite her, and this gives us a permanent +2 bonus to our strength. I haven't quite decided who I'm going to give that to yet, but I will be giving it to someone in the future. So now I'm just going to quickly save the game because we're going to try to pickpocket her and get some good stuff off of her that I would rather steal than to buy. So once we're all saved up, then with Astarion, I'm going to go forward and then I will crouch right behind her and I will be able to start stealing from her. Just be forewarned that there are guards that walk around this area who will try to find you. The first thing that I'm going to steal is this Potion of Invisibility. We actually can grab 3 of them from her pretty easily. Let's go into our inventory and then we will use one of those potions of invisibility that we just stole from her, which will turn us invisible. Now we'll pickpocket her again and take the Circlet of Hunting, and then she does have some other good equipment, and I'm going to focus on stealing a cloak called the Thunderskin Cloak. So I'll grab that, and unfortunately right about that time I was spotted by one of the guards walking around here, so I do have to just try to talk my way out of this. I'm going to go with the option Deception. I've got a lead on the true culprit. Leave me be so I can follow it. This gives us a skill check of 10. Pretty easy to get this one, so let's roll it and then keep going.
Been given the benefit of the doubt this time, but something tells you next time you won't be so lucky.
So he'll leave us alone for right now, but we don't have a lot of good options for stealing from her again. You can always go back and just purchase or trade with her if you want to, but I did grab the Circlet of Hunting, which is really nice. We gain a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls against creatures marked with Hunter's Mark, True Strike, Fairy Fire, and Guiding Bolt, and we do have that Hunter's Mark as one of our abilities, so it just gives us some extra damage when we're already getting extra damage from those attacks. And we also get the Thunderskin Cloak. This is an easy way to daze enemies if they attack us while they have reverberation, and as you may remember, Gale is great at getting enemies to have reverberation, thanks to the build that we've given him, so those can come in handy. When that's all done, what we want to do is head toward the north. There's going to be another set of doors here that we can go through. This room has some stuff that you can pick up in it if you want to, but we're going to turn toward the right and we're going to be in the kitchen with Linzella and some Gnolls. So let's talk to Linzella.
A moment, true soul. You use a spoon to stir the soup, Barnabas. Forget the axe, my darling. Now, how can I help you?
Barnabas?
I've shown Barnabas a kinder way. A kinder name is only fitting. That is the gift the Absolute gave me when I stood before her. To rewrite the lives of her faithful. Make them believe there's something better.
I thought the Absolute accepted us all as we are.
She gathers many threads for her design, but it is still her design. And Barnabas has found his place in it. Observe. Barnabas, sweetie, come show what a good boy you are. What would you like him to do?
You decide.
The prayer, I think. Barnabas struggles with civilized speech, but he's been practicing.
You feel her will surge outwards and envelop the creature, inexorable as the tide.
Soul. No, Barnabas. We talked about this.
Wisdom. Compel the Gnolls to pulp their master. We now have a skill check of 16. It's a little bit difficult, so feel free to make a quick save just so that if you mess this one up, you can always come back to it. We definitely want to succeed here, so let's roll it and then keep going.
Like rope drawn taut beneath the blade, the connection simply snaps.
No. Barnabas. Darling. No!
Another parasite. Collect.
All trace of restraint is gone. Barnabas has tasted blood, and wants more. To your surprise, instead of ravishing you, he grovels with a howl of pining awe.
Lord! Many die.
It seems we have some history with Barnabas, so we'll say, no need to wait any longer, Gnollies. There's blood coming soon. Before moving on, we get 3 different inspiration points for going through this and letting the Gnolls go free. Number 1, for Astarion, get the Charlatan Pied Piper inspiration point. And then also for the Dark Urge, we're going to get one called Haunted One, Who Let the Gnolls Out. And finally, we do get one for having Will on the party at this time, and that's called Folk Hero, No Strings to Hold Them Back. So with all of those 3 inspiration points, then we want to loot Linzella because she has a couple good things, the Arrow of Lightning, as well as a new hand crossbow, and finally the Mind Flayer Parasite specimen so that we can keep upgrading our Illithid powers. This room does have some things if you want to go ahead and grab them, as well as the room next door. Feel free to loot this room and then go out through the door on the other side. We're back in the entranceway to the Moonrise Towers, and we're going to run across to the other side of the room, make sure that Karlach is in your party, and then talk to Lann Tarv.
Well, Flo didn't tell a lie. She said you'd find me, and here you are. Karlach, isn't it?
Now there's a name I'd hope never to hear again. What was Flo doing here?
Didn't think to quiz her about her business.
Karlach, who's Flo?
Florenta the Garotta. A Cambion I knew back in Avernus. She was the closest thing I had to a friend. That said, she would have choked the life out of me if I ever turned my back on her. The fact that she knows where I am, or where I might be going, doesn't exactly delight me.
If she rears her head, we'll handle her.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that. What did she want, anyway?
She came dressed as a novice. Gave me 3 soul coins. Said I could sell them if I wanted. But if I kept them for you, she'd consider it a favor owed.
Soul coins, huh? This could come in handy.
Let's have the soul coins then.
Sure. But she did have a condition. For every coin you take, you've got to hear the story of the soul trapped inside.
There you have it. Flo came all this way just to try to make me feel like shit. Clever use of her time. Memorized a bunch of sad stories on her behalf, did you?
Didn't need to. Your Flo did some devil woo-woo and stuck 'em in my head. Couldn't forget now if I wanted to. You want the coins or not?
Fine, get on with it then.
First coin's got the soul of a woman named Maveri. She was born to a cruel mother, and a violent father, and 3 evil brothers, all named Baldur. She never knew a day of love in all her life. When she was a girl of 15, she sold her soul to Tiamat in exchange for someone who would love her unconditionally. She got what she asked for. A fellow named Clint, destined to be her soulmate, struck by a cart and died a few moments after clapping eyes on our Mavery. Poor guy. The scud of her soul is yours now.
Thanks, I guess.
We'll put that coin to better use than Tiamat would've.
Sure you will. This one has got the soul of a man named Frakes. Lived in a village near Neverwinter. Hit hard by the worst hunger in 1,000 years. Frakes called out for help. Prayed for his children to have meat to eat. Zariel answered. Made old Frakes grow flesh upon flesh after flesh. His wee ones had all the meat they could stomach.
He should have known. Better to die 1,000 deaths than let Zariel into your life.
We'll put his coin to good use. He'll help us rid the realms of people like Zariel.
Whatever you need to tell yourself. Last one's got the soul of a little boy named Ungir. 8 years old. He liked playing in the sun with his friends. That's all I know.
That's all?
That's all. Oh, and this slip of scratch.
Well, thanks, Flo. Hearing a bunch of desperate horror has ruined my day, which I suppose was the point.
You got 3 soul coins after the bargain, didn't you? I'd quit whinging if I were you. I did my part. That means our business is done. Unless you've got actual gold to hand.
Let me see your wares. He has quite a few items, lots of arrows and things, and he has some interesting equipment, such as the Halberd of Vigilance. That way, if we're using something like the Sentinel feat, we can get an advantage whenever we're attacking as a reaction. He's got some upgraded crossbows, but we don't really need those. And then he also has an interesting piece of armor, and it's called the Gloves of Dueling. And what that does is that if we're holding one weapon in our main hand and nothing in our offhand, then we will get a +2 to our attack rolls. So you can grab that if you want to. We will be updating his inventory soon, and we're able to get his secret stash in a little bit. So you can hold off on buying things right now if you want to, because we will come back in a little bit and get that upgraded with some new items. Also in this general area, we'll find Roah Moonglow a little bit further over toward the west, so we can go and chat with her.
Ah, a new face come to bask in the light of the Absolute. How can I be of service, true soul?
Do you have anything to trade? Roah's got some interesting equipment. Starting off, the Bloodied Great Axe allows us to do an additional 1 to 4 slashing damage whenever the wielder is below 50% of their maximum hit points. So that could be good for a frontline melee character. We also get a hand crossbow +1, always good to pick those up, especially if you're dual wielding those hand crossbows, as well as the Nair Misser. This allows the wielder to cast a free level 3 magic missile, so I would recommend getting that and giving it to Gale so that you can get a free magic missile. Also, the Sharpened Snare Cuirass is a good thing to grab, especially for a character like Astarion. So let's go ahead and grab all of those things. We don't really need that Bloody Great Axe, however. I would just say grab those crossbows and then the Cuirass, and you'll be all set there. You can also spend some money if you want to, grabbing things that you can throw with Karlach, such as this Trident +1. There's some other things that count as throwing weapons around here too. So go ahead and go crazy, buy whatever you want to, and then make sure that you also spend a little bit of time selling things off as well. We drained a lot of our money here just now, so we do want to get some of that back and recoup our funds. We'll just use that by selling off things that we've been looting around here, like the silver cake stand. There's also some more valuables and gems, all kinds of things that we don't really need anymore. Old armors and stuff, you can get rid of a lot of that stuff too. Just try to focus on getting rid of the things that are common items, because those magical items, they can come in handy in the future. Now that we have a lot of good equipment, let's go through and start equipping it. So let's start with Astarion. I'm going to give him that circlet of hunting that we picked up earlier from the drow that made the potions. We're also going to give him that Sharpened Snare Cuirass that will add our full dexterity modifier to our armor class, raising his armor class from the current value of 16 all the way up to 18, which makes him pretty tanky. He's now keeping up with some of the other heavy melee characters. Finally, for Astarion, we're going to give him the hand crossbow +1 in his main hand, and the offhand will have the other normal hand crossbow. So now he'll be decked out just like the Dark Urge with his dual-wielding range capabilities. Let's switch over to Will, and we're going to equip him with the Sword of Screams. This is what we got for defeating Nier, and it gives a nice damage boost to him. Okay, that's enough for the equipment. Let's continue on with the story just a little bit. We're going to go back toward the middle of this room, and then we're going to turn to the right, which is toward the south, and we're going to go up the stairs and then through the Absolute's door. This is where we first met Ketheric Thorm. We're going to go over toward his throne, and then over toward the right or the left. It doesn't matter. That will take you around, and then you can go up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, there's going to be a room with Zarel, and there's going to be a bit of a cutscene there. You'll want to save the game before going in there, just because we want that conversation to go well. So once you're ready, head forward and then turn toward the left and get your cutscene.
General Thorm's prayers and preparations must not be disturbed. The rooftop is off limits to everyone.
Even you, Disciples Realm?
Everyone. Keep watch and ensure that nobody passes. Excellent timing, true soul.
The goblins. Tell me how they suffered. No, better yet, show me.
Her mind enters yours abruptly, flickering across your memories in a blaze of excitement. Tongues of psychic flame lap at the memory of the goblins dying by your hand.
I see you like to handle underlings physically. So do I.
Got any more for me to punish?
Plenty. But I hoped someone of your talents would be more ambitious. You came here to answer the Absolute's call. Let's see what you're made of.
She parts the folds of your mind again, touching your wants and hopes, tasting them. Every emotion soaks into her mind's palette. But there is purpose to her exploration. She is searching for proof of your faith.
Rogue deception. Think and thieves can't. Masking your true thoughts as absolutist zealotry. Here we have a skill check looking for 21, which is kind of why we saved it earlier, or you can save it here. But anyway, let's roll it and keep going.
There is a tremor of shared ecstasy as she finds a mirror to her own desire.
Perfect. You crave what all true souls should, to be touched by the Absolute. I have already been blessed to stand in her presence. It was bliss. She gave me everything I wanted.
Show me the power she gave you.
Why not? What's the point in power if you don't get to have a little fun every now and again? She gave me the power to cut the thread of life with a thought. But I can caress as well as cut. That's why you should stay on my good side. And the best way to do that is to serve General Thorm. I have a mission for you.
That's it. Play along. The closer you can get to the General, the closer you'll be to the answers you seek.
I live to serve. What do I need to do?
There is a relic that General Thorm requires. He sent his most trusted advisor, disciple Balthazar, to retrieve it. The relic is beneath the Thorm family mausoleum. That is where you will find Balthazar. But we have lost contact with him. Go there, aid Balthazar if you can, and bring the relic home.
I would really recommend making a quick save here because we have an insight check right after this next choice that you want to pass. We're going to say, what exactly was this relic he was sent to retrieve?
It is something that General Thorm desires, and that he has ordered us to retrieve. That is all you need to know.
She's suddenly nervous, on edge. Talking about the relic makes her anxious.
Persuasion. Talking of this relic makes you anxious. Why is that? Here we have a skill check looking for an 18. Let's roll that and then keep going.
I am in awe of the power the relic must hold to be of such importance. General Thorm will not leave Moonrise without it.
The relic is vital to Ketheric's plans. You should be giving me more support.
Fine. Talk to the Bugbear Quartermaster. Tell him he's to share my secret stash with you.
For more lore, choose any of the bottom 3 options or say, understood, I'm ready to head out.
The shadows around the mausoleum are deep and hungry. You'll need a moon lantern to survive them. Take one from Balthazar's chambers. But don't pry. The last person who snooped into his secrets lost their head. I believe he uses it as a chamber pot.
We get a couple things for that interaction. First off, we get the Balthazar's room key. That just saves us from having to pick a lock, as well as an inspiration point for Astarion called Charlatan, Know Thy Clientele, and he gets a little experience for that as well. Before we continue with Moonrise Towers, we're going to go back to camp because we want to switch up the party a little bit. Will has served us well, but we don't need him for this next part. Instead, we're going to replace him with Gale because Gale is very important for what we're going to do next. So now with Gale on the team, we'll head back to Moonrise Towers. Now let's start running toward the east, which is the opposite direction of where the enemies that we just spoke to were. We can go through the door and then circle around toward the left. We'll run straight ahead until we get to the big door in front of us. This is the door leading into Balthazar's room. No need to lockpick it because we have Balthazar's room key. Go inside and then turn left, walk around the blood-stained floor until you get to this big bookcase. Be very careful on which book you select here. You want to search the area and choose the bookshelf labeled Musty Tomes. When you interact with that one, then the ancient altar next to you will activate. You can interact with it, and then you can select the blooming drow head and insert that into the altar. That's going to open up the bookshelf, giving you the Secrets of the Necromancer inspiration point for Gale, as well as another inspiration point called Sage, a little too familiar with the grotesque. So Gale got 2 inspiration points for that one interaction. Now we're going to go forward into the next room. You don't need to switch to Gale here. You should probably be Astarion instead. But over on the left side, there's going to be an opulent chest. We can lockpick this guy, and then we can open it up. Here we have a skill check looking for a 14, pretty easy for Astarion, so let's roll that and then we can open up this opulent chest to grab an elixir of necrotic resistance, as well as the cold brim hat. Once per turn, any condition inflicted on a target also applies 2 turns of encrusted with frost. Gale pretty much inflicts conditions every time he attacks, so it is a very good headpiece for him, and it just kind of goes along with the whole wizard vibe he's got going on. Now let's go to the other side of the room.
The necromancer was experimenting on the tadpoles. But they were already imbued with Nethery's magic. So where did that magic come from?
Now as Gale, you want to interact with the ritual circle on the right side table.
A ritual circle? Judging by the shadow sigils inscribed, it was used in the creation of Balthazar's moon lanterns. Though its power is weakened, you could still use the shattered pixies Balthazar discarded to craft one final lantern. Not to repel the shadows, but to wield them. Mystra forbids the use of such magic. She would insist the sigils be destroyed, the circle's evil dissipated. But she is not here, and you are.
If you craft the Shadow Lantern, you will be able to summon a shadow to help you fight, but it's not nearly as good as the reward that we can get by choosing to erase the Shadow Sigils.
It doesn't take much. The sigils fade, the circle's tainted magic dissolving harmlessly into the ether. For the briefest moment, you feel the touch of a reassuring hand on your shoulder. Mystra has noted your service.
Let's switch control over to the Dark Urge so that we can talk to Gale.
Did you feel that? I wasn't surrounded on all sides by the darkness of the shadow-cursed lands. I'd think it was Mystra herself brushing against my skin.
I felt it too. It was like my skin became charged with something, more alive somehow.
That's Mystra's power for you. Where there's even a trace of magic, she will be there to bring it to life. There's clearly some magic in you if you were able to sense her presence. But I think I felt something stronger. She's left some tiny part of herself to watch over me, I think. A boon to help us reach the heart of the Absolute in one piece.
Given all we're up against, I'm grateful for the help.
Strange, though, that she would reward me for such a service now. She's hardly been forthcoming on that front since my banishment. Perhaps I'm overthinking things. A blessing's a blessing, and this one should come in most useful.
Well, let's see what that blessing is. Let's switch over to Gale, and then we're going to go into his character sheet. Looking at his characteristics, we see a new permanent buff called Mystra's Benevolence. Gale has advantage to concentration checks. That's really good considering the amount of time that we spend concentrating on spells. We're now less likely to be broken out of that. Let's leave the room and then turn toward the left. There's going to be a lever on the left-hand wall. Let's interact with that, and then that will open up the door right in front of us. Now we can go outside and run over toward the left. There's a door over here that has a skill check of 30 to lockpick it. That's pretty difficult, but if you have the knock spell, you can open that up without an issue. Now we're going to switch it back over to the Dark Urge and then go forward and we can open up this door. When we do that, then we get an inspiration point for Karlach called Outlander Never Liked Stairs. Now we can go into the room. There's going to be an undead dog named Squire walking around here. We don't really have to fight him. We can just talk to him and get him to be more friendly toward us. So go forward till you get the cutscene.
Even stripped of flesh, the Warhound is formidable. Spectral eyes meet yours as it growls a challenge. And then it hesitates, gleaming muzzle sampling your scent as if in recognition.
The first thing that you want to do is to stay still and let it sniff you. This is very important.
Suspicious, the creature leans in for another sniff, and for a moment its tail wags, as if remembering a scent from long ago. Then the beast shakes its head, a ferocious warhound once more, though perhaps not quite as ferocious as before.
Intimidation. Snarl at the beast's display of weakness. This gives us a skill check of 14. It used to be 16, but because we let it smell us, then it lowers it from 16 down to 14, making this quite a bit easier for us. So let's roll this one and keep going.
This is not a creature easily cowed, but something in your display gives it pause. The growl withers to a whimper, and the hound turns away, sheepish.
Squire is no longer hostile to us, so let's go forward, and then we can see at the edge of the bed there's going to be an opulent chest. Let's switch over to Astarion so that we can lockpick this and then get what's inside. When you lockpick it, it does have a skill check of 14, which is pretty easy for Astarion. So let's roll that one, and then we can open up the chest. And inside we'll see that there's a letter to Ketheric that we can read, giving you a little bit of lore, as well as an inspiration point for Gale called Sage to have loved and lost. And there's also going to be another piece of equipment inside this opulent chest called the Cloak of Elemental Absorption. So let's grab that one, and then what we want to do is head over toward these loose planks here. You can read the book of Elder Brain Domination if you want to, giving you a little bit more lore for this area. There's a whole bunch of stuff to read in this room if you want some more lore, so go ahead and do that if you want to. Otherwise, you can go over toward the left. There's a wicker chest here that gives you a little bit of gold and some things like the Arrow of Acid. That's always good to have, so grab that. And now what we want to do is to head on over, and we're going to finish off Squire. Squire is Ketheric's loyal warhound, and he does appear in a later fight. So I'm going to test out a theory here to see if we eliminate him early, will we be able to avoid him helping out Ketheric in the later fight. The good news for us is that Squire doesn't do anything to us. We can attack him all we want to, and he will not become hostile. So let's just finish him off, and then we'll be able to keep going. The good news is that we do get 60 experience for beating him, but he doesn't have anything on him, so there's no reason to loot him. We can switch it back over to Astarion now. He's going to take us toward the southwest corner of the room, and there's going to be a door over here with a lock on it. Let's go ahead and lockpick this thing, and then we can go inside. We do have a skill check of 15, so let's roll that and then go inside. Now be careful when you go forward because there's going to be a chest over here. Don't open it up right away. Instead, you want to kind of get close to it and see if you can perceive what it truly is. Well, the treasure chest was actually a mimic, but don't worry, this thing appears to be more intimidating than it actually is. It's level 3, it has 75 hit points, and it has some pretty decent defense. We don't do a ton of damage to it, but it really doesn't do a lot of damage to us either. In fact, all the times that I've played through this section, I've never even had it hit me. So you don't have to worry too much about it. Let's just go ahead and use our normal strategies, and we can finish this thing off fairly quickly.
Bye forever, pal.
Alright, nice. We get 110 experience for that. Pretty easy fight. And then if we go ahead and loot the body of the Mimic, we'll see that we get some more interesting things, including the Spine Shudder Amulet. When the wearer deals damage with a ranged spell attack, inflict 2 reverberation upon the targets. This would be a pretty good thing to give to Gale, just because we give him that new hat, that whenever we inflict a status condition, we also inflict Encrusted with Frost. So go ahead and put that in Gale if you want to. I didn't do that just yet, but I'll probably do it in the later part. And then grab all the potions and stuff from the Mimic as well. We're done with this room. Now we can head on out. We're going to go out the door on the side. This is toward the west. When you go outside, there's going to be a big throne in front of you. Turn over toward the side, and you're going to run down the stairs, and you can open up the heavy chest to grab a little bit of gold and a fire amber. Now we're going to retrace our steps and head back down toward the bottom of the tower, but this time we're going to be taking out some enemies along the way. That will make a future battle significantly easier for us. The other doors around here lead to restricted areas, and if the guards see you, they'll want to fight you and basically bring the whole tower down on you at once, and that's not what you want to do. So instead, let's run around through Balthazar's room. There's one more chest that we have not yet collected, and that's going to be in a heavy chest over on the left side. So let's go up here, and then we're going to have Astarion lockpick it for us. It does have a skill check of 14, so it's not terribly difficult to get through this one. Let's go ahead and roll that, and then we'll open up the chest. And inside, there's going to be something called the Derivation Cloak. When you poison a foe, you heal yourself for 1d4 hit points. Not very important because we don't have a poison build, so you can basically sell that if you want to. Let's head into the next room, and then we're going to have Gale switch up his spells just a little bit, because we want to make sure that he has a spell that can do thunder damage. This is something that I haven't really showcased in the past. I've struggled with defeating these scrying eye enemies, but they are weak to thunder damage, not lightning damage. Be very careful to choose thunder damage for a spell, such as Thunder Wave. And then you'll want to save the game, because this fight can go kinda bad. Let's go over toward the other side of the room, and there's going to be a door here. We can go ahead and close that one so that we don't get more witnesses to the fight that we're about to commence. Now we're going to go back toward the middle of the room where Zarel is. If I was smarter, I probably would have closed off the other doors too in this area where we came in, but I left it open, and you'll see kind of what effect that had on me. So here's one of the scrying eyes flying around. You'll want to use Thunder Wave on it, and hopefully you can eliminate it right away, and that will prevent it from calling in more reinforcements. So always prioritize getting rid of those scrying eyes. So Zarel isn't very happy that we rearranged the contents of her office, and there's also a guard who came in who also doesn't like it. So we can either choose to talk our way out of it and then get another sneak attack in or something, or we can just choose to commence the battle as is. What's interesting is that the fight right now is only against the guard, even though Zarel is witness to everything that we've been doing around here. She doesn't really care just yet. She'll care after we do some more damage to that guard. That scrying eye also went away. It's going to come back in a little bit though. So starting off the fight, we're going to hit him with a sneak attack range, and then we can follow that up with another offhand ranged attack. Then it's going to be Astarion's turn. We can do the exact same thing with him. Now that he is dual wielding his ranged weapons, he's able to get in that extra offhand attack as well. The Scrying Eye has returned and noticed that we're fighting, so it also alerted Z'rell, who joined the fight. Now I wanted to take this thing out using another Thunder Wave. Unfortunately, I got counterspelled by Z'rell, meaning that I really can't do a whole lot to it this turn. So I'll just attack it with my offhand melee attack, and it doesn't do any damage, but I did get that encrusted with frost status to pop up. Now it's going to be Karlach's turn. I'm going to have her start to throw objects around. I'll just take some weapons and throw them over at Zealot Naram, who is the guard that we've been fighting this whole time. That'll do a lot of damage to him, and then I can follow that up with another throw, and that will be enough to eliminate him from the fight. So he's gone. We don't have to worry about him. He never even had a chance to attack. And we get 140 experience for defeating him. Now Z'rell's a bit of a problem because she can use things like Cone of Cold to do a ton of damage to all of her party members. And now we're getting reinforcements called in by the Scrying Eye. So not very ideal for us. So we can, however, do some pretty good damage to Z'rell. I'm going to use a sneak attack melee from the Dark Urge. But as you'll see, she has the ability to counter that with a shield bash and can just lay us flat. So that's not so great. Now it's Astarion's turn. I'm going to have him use his Vampire Bite. We'll just run right up next to Z'rell and bite her. That will heal us a little bit and also inflict Bloodless on her, so she has a bit of a disadvantage now. And then I can just use my normal attack with Astarion. Now it's Gale's turn again. I will actually finish off the enemy using that Thunder Wave. I'm not going to get counterspelled this time, so that enemy is gone, and we also inflicted Encrusted with Frost on to Z'rell. Now it's Karlach's turn. We're going to throw some more items over toward her, and we'll do some decent damage to her. Unfortunately, it's just barely not enough to defeat her. She's only got 1 HP left after this next throw, so really unfortunate. I could have ended the fight right here if I got just a little better roll, but I didn't get that. Instead, Z'rell's going to mess me up by causing me to become afraid. She will cast Fear on all of us, and we're going to drop our weapons, run away in terror. This probably couldn't have gone worse. Well, it could have if we all died, but luckily we still have one character who actually can do something, and that's going to be Gale. So we're going to switch it on over to him, and then he will be the one to finish off the fight by himself. Well, now we have a character of 1 HP versus 1 HP. If I run away, I'll be killed with an attack of opportunity. I don't want to waste a spell slot either, so I'm just going to use my normal main hand attack, and that will be enough to finish off the fight.
Parasite in that corpse, brimming with potent magic.
Well, after the fight, then we got 200 experience for everyone, and we have to go around and pick up all the weapons on the ground that we had dropped. So go ahead and do that, and then you'll want to loot Disciple Z'rell's body. There's some interesting things here: the Scroll of Shatter, Hand Axe +1, Absolute Protector, and a Mind Flayer Parasite Specimen. Grab all of those things, and then just make sure that all of your party members have collected their weapon that they dropped off the ground. Okay, I skipped ahead to the end just so that you didn't have to watch me loot all this whole area. We're going to now use our short rest just to get our health back because it was a pretty dire situation there for a moment. I find it interesting that there's a stack of books over here that no matter what, you just can't seem to access because you can't reach it despite being right in front of you. So we're just going to continue on now through the door on the other side that we previously closed, and none of the guards over here really care about what we just did. Let's save the game because we just finished one battle and now we have another one up ahead. Luckily, this one isn't too difficult. There are 3 Necromites and Radija up ahead. There's a nice space that you can be where the enemy can't see you, so let's all sneak here, and then we can have the Dark Urge come up, and we're going to begin the fight by using a sneak attack range attack. If you attack Radija first, that's probably the better choice just because she is a higher priority target who can do more damage to us than what those Necromites can. So with that, we're going to initiate combat, and we will be able to use another sneak attack right away. The enemy hasn't moved yet, so that means that we can get another sneak attack even if we're not hiding. We do some really good damage with that attack, and then we can follow that up with another offhand range attack, and she's pretty well hurting at this point. So now we're going to switch it over to Astarion. He's once again going to use another sneak attack, and that will do enough damage to be able to finish her off. So the main target is dead. Now we just have these other weaker Necromites. We'll chip away at this one's health a little bit using the offhand range attack with Astarion. And now it's going to be Gale's turn. So we're going to move him over close to the enemy, and then we can Thunder Wave this one and kill it before it has a chance to call in reinforcements. It's really important because there are a lot of enemies down below, and they will come running up the stairs and join the fight if we don't take out that scrying eye quick enough. Now it's Karlach's turn. We're going to have her throw, and we're going to attack the enemy that we have a little bit of damage on already, the closer Necromite. So that will do a lot of damage to it, not quite enough to kill it. So I have a couple choices. Do I want to throw something, or should I just use my normal ranged attack? I decided that the range attack was a better option just so I don't have to pick up one more thing off the floor after this fight. So that Necromite has been destroyed. Now it's going to be their turn. They'll use Reach from Beyond, and it does a total of 16 damage to the Dark Urge. That's not so bad. Now what we want to do is to use another sneak attack range against these enemies just because it's so powerful. I have just enough movement to get over to the other side of the battlefield, and that will allow me to get out of their field of view, where I can then use my Cunning Action Hide so that I will have an advantage on them, and then I can hit them with a sneak attack range. I'll go with the one that's closest to the team, furthest from the Dark Urge. That'll do a good chunk of damage to it, and now I'm just going to have Astarion use his normal ranged attack because he can't get all the way to the other side. And I'll just have him attack this guy, and he will be out of the fight. Then there's just one more, so it's going to be Gale's turn next. I'm going to have him go forward, and he can use Ray of Frost. That'll do some decent damage to him. I don't really need to use a spell slot or anything. I'm just going to have him use the cantrip to start the fight with this one, and that will do a good chunk of damage to him. And then it's just up to Karlach to throw one item over there, and that will be enough to finish him off, and then the fight will be over.
Got it.
Well, there you go. That was a good fight. We took out all those enemies. We only lost 16 health along the way, but we got a lot of experience. Now we can go ahead and loot all the bodies here. There's nothing terribly important that you need to get. Even the weapon that Radija has, it isn't super great, but it's worth picking up just so that you can sell it later on. Make sure that you pick up the scrolls and everything around here that you want, and then you're going to be good to go. If you really wanted to, you can go through this ornate door now without anyone objecting to it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of enemies up here. This does take you to the rooftop, and that is where Ketheric is waiting for us. So you can basically skip the whole Gauntlet of Shar if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend that. We've got some more good stuff that we want to do, but that is an option to just kind of skip the rest of Act 2 and go right toward the end of it there. Let's head on back down the stairs, and then there are 2 guards at the bottom of the stairs that we can take out. Unfortunately, for some reason, I did not re-equip my melee weapons that I dropped after fighting Zarel, so I definitely have to re-equip everything. I'm just going to do that really quick, and then we can begin the fight against these zealots. Alright, so we're re-equipped now. Everyone has their melee weapons back again, and we're going to then have the Dark Urge initiate a fight against the enemy. We can just use our sneak attack melee against one of these zealots over here. To no one's surprise, they will be a little upset after I stab them in the neck with a sneak attack, and they will want to arrest me or fight me. I'm just going to choose to attack so I can begin this battle. Now, what is surprising is that Karlach got the best initiative roll, so she's going to go first in this fight. I'm going to run her up the stairs a little bit just to create some distance from the enemy. That allows me to hit with these throws a little bit easier. So I do good damage on the first throw. Now I'll follow that up with a second throw. Unfortunately for me, this one ends up being a critical miss, so I don't really appreciate that so much, but we'll be able to recover from it, no problem. Now it's Astarion's turn. I'm going to have him use one of his sneak attack ranges against the enemy up close, and that will finish him off because I get a critical hit. So the universe is now in balance. I had a critical miss followed by a critical hit, and it all worked out. After a quick offhand range attack from Astarion, it's going to be the Dark Urge's turn. Let's run forward and use the sneak attack melee to do some good damage, and then we can follow that up with the Flurry of Blows ability that we get from being a monk, and that will do some more good damage against this Adept Mola. So once that's done, then it's going to be Gale's turn. I'm going to have him use a level 2 magic missile. That'll do some pretty good damage against it, bringing the enemy from 42 health all the way down to 15 health. It's now the enemy's turn, and they are going to summon in a Guardian of Faith, which is unfortunate because it does some pretty heavy damage to anyone nearby. And as you'll see, it does 20 damage to the Dark Urge, and that will end its turn. It's Karlach's turn, and I'm going to move her down the stairs quite a ways. The railing of the stairs really gets in the way of seeing that enemy, so you basically have to be at the bottom of the stairs in order to be able to throw a weapon and hit them. It does activate the Death Ward, which brings them back with 1 health. I'm going to then throw 1 more weapon over there, and that should be enough to not only finish off the Adept, but also get rid of that Guardian of Faith. We got some good experience. We did lose a little health along the way, but that's alright. Let's go ahead and pick up all the weapons off the ground that we threw, and then we also want to grab the Moonrise Guard's key off of at least one of these enemies. Okay, now we're going to go and rescue Minthara from the prison down below. We're going to head down the stairs toward the bottom part here, and then we're going to turn left and go down these stairs and through the door. Once you get down here, turn immediately toward the left. There's going to be a staircase that you want to take, and that will take you down below into the bottom part. Okay, we're now in the prison. Let's start by turning left, and if you follow the blood trail, you can get into this back room. Don't get too close, because if you do, then there'll be a cutscene, and we don't want to do that. Instead, let's just bring everyone inside and then close the door so that we're a little bit more hidden back here. Now we're going to get into position, and we're going to begin by fighting the enemy without that cutscene initiating. So Minthara can see you, and it won't break your hiding. You just want to hide behind the other 2 people and start by using a sneak attack range, and then we're just going to attack from here. We're going to attack one of the enemies and try to finish them off as quickly as possible. They're pretty dangerous when they're together, but getting rid of one of them makes it a lot easier. The only thing you really need to worry about in this fight is being confused, because the enemy will try to confuse your party. So a good thing to do is after you attack, just start to spread out a little bit. That way your whole party won't be affected by that confusion all at once. So now we're just going to have Astarion follow that up with another sneak attack range attack, and then using the offhand, we'll finish off the questioner before they even had a chance to do anything, and then just move to create some more distance. Minthara will actually be our ally in this fight, and she does some good things like healing us, using soul branding to buff us, all good stuff. There you can see that confusion affected 3 out of the 4 party members, and luckily we also have Karlach, who broke out of it right away. She's now able to throw a weapon over at the enemy that will do enough damage to break the concentration on confusion, which will cause my party members to no longer be confused at all. So now we're going to throw another weapon over there, doing some more damage, and luckily, because Gale is no longer confused, he will be able to be controlled by us instead of trying to attack us. We'll have him use Ray of Frost just to do a little bit of damage to the enemy and save a spell slot, and then we'll have the Dark Urge finish the fight just by having a normal ranged attack.
I expected to be greeted as a hero, but the wretches imprisoned me and tried to tear my mind apart. I didn't think anyone would come for me.
We need to get out of here.
Agreed. I will pretend the interrogators finished their work and feign obedience. They will think me a thrall.
Let's go.
Lead the way.
Now let's take a moment just to clean up after that battle. We'll grab the dagger +1s that I was throwing around, and if you loot the questioners, you can also grab a couple extra daggers. Those will come in handy. Now what we want to do is to leave the room. It really doesn't matter who you're controlling at this point, because when you get outside, you'll be noticed, and then whoever is leading Minthara, in this case Karlach, is going to be forced into the conversation.
Minthara is supposed to be in a cell. You have some explaining to do.
Intimidation. Minthara's been released, and that frees up a cell for people like you who challenge their betters. This will give us a skill check of 14, and because we're Karlach, we're naturally good with intimidation, but we can also add the thaumaturgy advantage, making it even easier to pass.
I would have preferred to be...
Okay, and from this point, we are free just to run straight toward the north, and we can exit out the doors on the other side, and we'll be in the clear.
Impossible to keep a garment clean down here.
Now we're back out on the docks. What we want to do is just run straight toward the east in front of us. We're going to go past all these enemies, and when we get to the end, then we're going to initiate combat, and we're going to fight our way back across this little bridge. This will give us a lot of experience, as well as a couple of Mind Flayer Parasite specimens as we go along. So we're going to switch over toward the Dark Urge, waiting for a chance to attack the enemy here. We'll begin with a sneak attack range just to initiate combat. There's no way to talk the guard out of fighting, so let's just begin. It's going to be Astarion's turn first. I'm going to have him just use the normal sneak attack ranged opener, followed by that offhand just to do a little bit more damage. And then it's going to be the Dark Urge's turn. We're going to do the exact same thing with him. We're going to have the sneak attack ranged, followed up by his offhand ranged. And we've dropped the Zealot's health from 91 down to 25 just at the beginning of this round of combat. Now it's Karlach's turn. We're going to have her do her normal thing of starting to throw some stuff around. So I'll toss one of the new daggers that we picked up over there, and it will miss, which is unfortunate, but I can always follow that up by having another dagger throw, which will do some good damage. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough, but he does have some pretty critical health. The Adept on the other side of the bridge will use Guardian of Faith, which is very dumb because it's nowhere near us and it can't attack us at a range. The other Zealot is now going to run forward along the side and just get closer, but can't really do anything to us. Now it's Minthara's turn, and she does have some abilities. She is a paladin, so she's got some spells and some physical attacks, but she's not armed or anything. I can't really do a whole lot. I can't get up in its face, so I thought maybe I'll just throw something. I'll throw one of the daggers that I have over there, and it should kill it, but it missed. So unfortunately, I do have to go through one turn with having this enemy be able to attack us. So I'm just going to kind of move her a little bit out of the way. And now the barely living Zealot is able to cast Abjure Enemy on Karlach and frighten her. But that's not going to do a whole lot after the next round, because I'm just going to have Gale finish off this enemy. He can cast Ray of Frost and take him out no problem. With that enemy gone, Karlach is no longer frightened, and our party got 140 experience. Pay attention to the Firewine barrel in the middle of this bridge. We'll be using that in a moment. I'm going to move Astarion up right outside of the range of this enemy. I thought that I'd be able to hide out here and then hit him with a sneak attack, but he's just outside of range. So instead what I'll do is just use a normal attack, and I'm going to attack the barrel just beyond the Firewine barrel called the Zentrine Shipping Crate. When you hit this, it will explode, causing caustic damage around it, and it will also cause the Firewine barrel to explode. And we're going to be getting a couple of Mind Flayer Parasite specimens that were held inside of that shipping container. I don't want to overextend myself too far going forward, so what I'm going to do is just pass the turn with the Dark Urge, as well as with Karlach, and let the enemies start to come closer to me. The Adept in the back is going to start dashing forward, and he's going to move right where I want him to be, right amidst all of this Firewine on the ground. That will be a very dangerous situation for him in a minute. The other Zealot running up the side will just try to slow down Gale. Not a big problem though. I can then move Minthara up a little bit, and I'm going to have her cast Bless on the party, just so that I have a little bit more of an advantage here. And I'm going to target Astarion, Gale, as well as Karlach. I don't need Minthara to do anything else, so I'll just skip her turn, and then it will be Gale's turn to go forward, and he will use Firebolt on the enemy up ahead, the one that's surrounded by all the Firewine. Even though I have a disadvantage, it doesn't really matter. The enemy is going to go from 75 health all the way down to 22 thanks to all of the explosions around there. So a big opportunity to do tons of damage with a very simple spell. And then I can just attack the Zealot up close. Even though I missed, I can hit him with the Reverberation. Now let's have Astarion use a sneak attack melee because Gale is at close range, and that will do a good chunk of his health. I can follow that up with a Vampire Bite just to heal myself a little bit, as well as inflict Bloodless on the enemy. Then I can use a sneak attack ranged with the Dark Urge to do a little bit more damage to him. And of course I'll follow that up with my offhand ranged attack. So after that, it's going to be Karlach's turn. I will throw one of my weapons, just this dagger +1 over here, and that's going to do a good chunk of damage to him. And I can follow that up with another throw, which will be enough to take him out. So now that enemy is gone, I just have the one enemy who's now severely damaged up ahead. He will cast Hunger of Hadar, and then he kind of made a mistake by jumping up top here that let me see him pretty easily. The rule with Hunger of Hadar is you never want to end your turn in it, because you'll take damage at the beginning and end of your turn. So I might take a little bit of damage at first, but then I'm going to run Gale out of it, and then I'm going to be able to hit him with a Ray of Frost that's going to do a ton of damage to him and actually take him out. Getting rid of him also got rid of the Hunger of Hadar area around us, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. And now there's only one enemy remaining, the Zhentarim guy who just popped into the fight. He really should have minded his own business here, because now I have to eliminate him. Unfortunately, I don't have quite enough range to get close enough to hit him with Astarion, either by using a sneak attack ranged or a normal range attack. He's just outside of my field of view. So instead what I'm going to do is just move the Dark Urge up, and I can get just close enough so that I can hit him with a normal ranged attack, and that will do a good chunk of damage with that and the follow-up offhand attack. Then it's Karlach's turn. We're going to move her up as close as she can get, and then she's just going to use her normal throw to get some damage on this enemy. We'll toss the dagger over at him, and that will actually do enough damage to kill him and finish off the fight.
Take it. It might be useful.
Let's go and grab the 2 Mind Flayer parasite specimens that can be found on the ground after destroying that Zhentarim container. The dead Mind Flayer tadpoles don't have much of a use, but you can actually throw them in battle and do a little bit of damage with Karlach if you want to go that route. I'm just going to take a moment to clean up after myself, grabbing all the weapons I threw and looting the bodies. Nothing very important to showcase there though. And then on the way out, we'll grab this heavy chest and the gold inside of it. Now we're going to run around toward the north outside of the Moonrise Towers, following the dock around. When you get to the boxes here, turn toward the right, and then you'll be able to jump across this little gap. When you're on the other side, keep running forward and you'll get into a cutscene with Minthara.
I last left Moonrise as a commander in the Absolute's army, obeying the voice of a god. I thought I had found a home and a purpose.
Now I leave as an exile. But you risked your life to rescue me. For that, I am grateful.
The artifact connects with her, pulling your minds together and showing her all that you have seen. The prism, your dream visitor, the protection that keeps you from obeying the Absolute and becoming a Lithid. She knows it all in a moment. Her mind reels, but is no longer clouded. She accepts the truth. She has no choice.
There is much we must discuss. Do you have a safe place to camp nearby?
Tell her where to find your camp.
Goodbye for now. I will see you soon.
That completes the quest called Decide Minthara's Fate. Now we're going to switch back over to the Dark Urge, and we're going to head back to camp. Minthara's already on her way there, so we're going to go meet her there and have a dialogue with her to fully recruit her into our party. So we'll just walk around here, and then we'll see her with the exclamation mark above her head. Let's talk to her.
It does not compare with the comforts of home, but your camp is almost palatial in comparison to my previous accommodation. Thank you for allowing me to come here, and for bringing me back to myself. Each memory that returns to me is more disturbing than the last. The things that I did in the name of the Absolute. The things that were done to me. They broke my mind.
Someone in this cult might have broken mine too. We are going to break them back.
Precisely. While our tadpoles live, and the cult have the means to control them, we will never be safe. We must eradicate them, starting with General Thorm. I mean Ketheric. My deference to him is a habit that will die hard, I fear.
You'll join me in this battle then?
Not only this battle, but all that come after. Swear that you will keep me close. Until the Absolute is dead, at least.
Of course. You'll be a valuable ally.
Thank you. I knew you were different to other true souls when we met, but I could see nothing clearly. Now, thanks to the prism, the Absolute does not cloud my thoughts at all. I see that together, we can have our vengeance on those who infected us. Rest well, and keep your wits about you. Tomorrow, we go to war with the cult of the Absolute.
Sleep well. We will venture forth together come morning.
I would gladly join you in the fight. Leave one of your other allies here, and I shall. There's no space for me. I suggest you make one.
I don't need to put her on the team just yet, so I'll end the conversation by saying let's talk about something else. And now we have a fully recruited Minthara on our team that we can have travel with us whenever we want to. She's a very powerful paladin, and I'll be looking forward to using her in the future. So that's going to wrap it up for part 16. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give me a like and also comment down below. And also don't forget to subscribe to see future parts of this series. We're going to be continuing on cleaning up some things in the Moonrise Towers. And then we have some other side quests up to do before continuing on to the Gauntlet of Shar. So a lot of good stuff in the future, and I hope you'll join me for that. I'll see you soon for part 17. Until then, thanks for watching and have a good day.